Hey, what's up? Alex here. For the past 4 years, I've been using these Aqara first gen smart switches. Not the D1, not the H1. I like that simple, minimalist, round edge design. Over the years, I've also checked out and reviewed many other switches, but none of them really managed to make me want to completely do a tech refresh of all my switches. Regardless of whether it's the design or features, they are simply just not enough for me to swap out everything. Until recently, Aqara released the Z1 Pro switches. It is then I'm really tempted to change away all my switches. The most interesting thing about the Aqara Z1 Pro switch should be this sliding touch control on the left. This is the first time I see a switch to combine both touch and button controls. This slider can be used like a dimmer switch to adjust the brightness or color temperature. Besides lights, you can also use it for window treatment like blinds or curtain related devices. Another thing that makes this switch quite special is that the buttons are designed horizontally. Only the right end of this whole part can be pressed. Some of you might not be used to having the switch in such orientation, but actually for me, I like it this way. Anyway, there's also nothing stopping you from installing the switch in this orientation if you really want. There's a blue LED light indicator coming out from this gap for each of the buttons when they are set to the on state. The Aqara Z1 Pro switches come in either white or grey color options, which are going to fit most of the modern house renovation themes. The white is like a little pearl white and the grey is like the old iPhone space grey color. I think both look good on white painted walls, so it kind of depends whether you like the switch to stand out or kind of camouflage with the wall. This time, Aqara went with a very nice matte anti-fingerprint surface. The touch and feel reminds me a lot of the high-end Samsung phones, very similar, but definitely smoother than my current S21. Very premium feel and very nice to touch. If I put it side by side with the D1, you can see that this has a round edge design. There is no border around it, no branding logo at the front unlike the H1M. There are 1 gang, 2 gang, 3 gang and even a 4 gang model. But actually the 4 gang is a 3 gang with a wireless switch. You can see from the back wiring, they are the same. There's no L4 for the 4 gang. Neutral wire is optional, so you don't need to decide whether to buy a neutral or non-neutral version. Another thing is even if this is a 3 gang, you don't need to wire all L1 to L3 in order to use all the buttons. For example, over here, I installed the 2 gang, but I only wire in just the L1. You will still have power for the second button. Installation of this switch is so easy because the interior module is very sleek, giving more room for your wiring inside. The switch gives a very good feedback when pressed. The sound is also perfect the way I like it. It's quite soft but still loud enough for the person pressing it to hear it clearly. To maximize all the features of this switch, you will have to use it via the Aqara app. I'll briefly show you the settings you can change inside the app. Later on, I will show you the integration on the other smart home platforms. Going into the device, in the first screen, you can control the on or off. Under the switch setting is where you can set each of the buttons to be a wireless switch instead, or some call this as the decouple mode. This quick double control is available if you have set it to wireless. Basically, the feature allows you to sync the indicator light if you are trying to do like a two-way control. Tapping on the settings and going to the device settings, here are the things you can set. You can change the touch sensitivity to low, medium or high. Another interesting one is mode switching between anti-flicker and quick mode. If you have flickering issue, this may or may not resolve it. If flickering is not an issue, then change it to quick mode. Now the most important thing is what automation trigger you can set. You will see the sliding touch here, which makes the most sense to control the brightness or color temperature for Aqara smart lighting devices. Over here, I have the Aqara T1M ceiling light. Besides the normal main light in the middle, around the sides there is RGB lights. So what I can do over here is turn both buttons into wireless, then one button to on or off the main light, the other button to on or off the side RGB, and the sliding touch to adjust the brightness for both of them. Similar automations can be applied to the T1 LED strip. I can use the sliding touch to change the color temperature and touch to on or off the whole strip. For the 4 gang quadruple model, the last button is fixed as a wireless button. You can't change this. It has a setting where you can choose between 2 modes, high-speed click mode and multi-function mode. If you plan to just have it to do one thing like running the goodnight scene, then choose the high-speed mode. If you want the standard 3-button actions, single press, double press and long press, then select the multi-function mode. So I will use that to control curtains or blinds and set open, close and stop. Just nice, 3 actions. Now let's look at the integration with the main smart home platforms. First, with Google Home, you'll be able to see only the relay switches with on or off state. I did check the script editor, but nothing more there. You will still be able to control other Google Home devices with those normal switches. So for example, I can set a household routine. If the second button is on, then switch on my Govee corner lamp together with the side lights from T1M. Apple HomeKit is always Aqara's main focus in terms of supported smart home platform. Once you add the Aqara app into HomeKit, you'll be able to see all the relay switches as well as the wireless button if it's the 4-gang quadruple model. Under button 4, you will see the 3 triggers, then you can simply set the actions you want for each of these triggers. For Samsung SmartThings, I'll be testing this with no custom edge drivers installed. It managed to capture the Zigbee device, appearing as a switch, but it turns out that only the first relay can be controlled. I guess this is fine for a 1-gang switch, but anything more than 1 gang is not going to work properly. For Homey, I have the Aqara app plugin installed, but I don't see the Z1 Pro switch here. So I just choose a triple D1 non-neutral switch to see whether it works. It did capture the Zigbee signal, but shows an error that's unable to connect. Next, I test with generic Zigbee device. Unfortunately, still the same error even after a few attempts. For Home Assistant, it's able to capture all the relay switches, including a couple of sensor entities for the power consumption. So similarly, you can set automation rules for those switches to control your other devices in Home Assistant. For example, if switch is on, then close my Insomfy shades, and if turned off, it will open the shades. This is all tested using ZHA. Fellow Home Assistant users, if you're using MQTT and is able to detect more than what I did with ZHA, do share with me in the comments below. So besides HomeKit that's able to see the wireless button, unfortunately, it seems that the slider and wireless button are only available within the Aqara app. It also seems that there's no way to control devices from other companies unless Aqara is going to expand on adding third-party devices. Right now, they only have Sonos here, but I think it's very unlikely that they will include competitors' products into their own app. Overall, here's my recommendation for each of these smart home systems. If you're using the Aqara app to control the switch via Google Home, Alexa, or Apple HomeKit, then you can seriously consider getting the Z1 Pro switches. If you have Aqara smart lighting devices like their ceiling light or the T1 LED strip, then I will 100% recommend you to pair those lights with these switches. For Home Assistant users like myself, I will probably replace 1 or 2 switches first and see whether there are updates for the slider to be able to control lights from the other companies like Philips Hue and Nanoleaf. Once that's possible, I will definitely replace all my switches. Looking at all these integration test results, it makes me wonder why can't Google improve on their automation capabilities, or why can't Apple HomeKit simply support more device integrations? Because once that happens, it would be hard to find a place for smart home systems like SmartThings or Homey if they are unable to innovate quicker. New interesting smart home tech will always come from the device manufacturers, and of course, it will always be easier to implement it within their own native app first. Apart from the integration support, there's also one feedback, or rather improvement, I hope to see. Over at the sliding touch, if they could make those circles here light up according to a slider percentage, or having the percentage number to be indicated somewhere, maybe below here, then at least it will be easier and faster to adjust to the desired state you want instead of relying entirely on visually looking at the device that you are controlling whether you have adjusted correctly. The reason is because the response is like not going to be super instant. Sometimes it can lag a bit. Okay, so what's your thoughts on the Z1 Pro Switch? Are you also tempted to buy one and try it out? As mentioned in my last community post, I'll be doing a giveaway in this video. So I reached out to a couple of Aqara distributors here in Singapore. Shout out to HomeSmart and the Trade Gallery for agreeing to sponsor 1 unit of these Aqara Z1 Pro switches. By the way, Aqara has also released their 20A smart switch. I know many of you are always asking for a switch that can be used for your heater. So do check out HomeSmart or the Trade Gallery if you're planning to buy Aqara products. Okay, these are the quadruple rocker version. I have one grey and one white over here. Simply just subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a comment if you are interested in winning one of these cool switches, and let me know which color you like. This will be just for my Singapore viewers. I will announce the winners next week in my community post, so keep a lookout for that. Alright, that's all from me. See you in the next one. Bye.